living life is gangsta. Hey, hey, 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 love yourself first, explicitly. You overtook yourself to move with that energy. Empower your self-esteem. Self-love is king. That's the only way to win. That's how you empower your dream. Living life is gangsta. Hey, hey, living life is gangsta. Hey, hey, living life is gangsta. Hey, hey, living life is gangsta. Hey, hey.
Hey y'all, happy Saturday. How is everybody doing? Hey Jamia, hey my Renaissance grandma, hey everyone who tuned in this evening. I know the lighting is not the best. It's starting to get dark here. The sun is going down, but I just wanted to check in. I appreciate each and every one of you for all of the well wishes, the prayers, the good vibes y'all sent us. Hey She, what's up, brother? The other night was rough. I can't say that it wasn't. It was rough. It was so loud and so dark. Um, yeah, it was definitely, we went into prayer mode for sure. So many people from home were reaching out to us because the local news at home found out that we were here. And so they did an interview with us before the hurricane hit and then another one afterwards. And so people at home who didn't even know we were here were like, oh my God, are y'all okay? We lost power for a long time. The power came on early this morning, thank God, because it is hot, hot, hot. And so the power came on around 3 or 4 o'clock this morning. But the funny thing is today, you would never even really know that anything happened. But thank you, Jamia. Yeah, it was tough. It was rough. I've been through several hurricanes, but I have to say that this was probably the worst. When it made landfall here, it was officially a Category 3, and we are on the second floor of the villa, but it's like the trees and everything that y'all see, they were like bending and just again so loud. I think that was the biggest thing for me. It was just so loud. It was nerve-wracking. And with my anxiety, it was like I just got to the point where I had enough. I'm like, okay, I just need to be able to hit a switch and be like, I'm done. But you couldn't do that. So it lasted for hours upon hours. It went on. It started officially, I guess, around 9 o'clock. Hey, Chris, how are you? How are you? It started officially, I guess, about 9 o'clock that night with the rain and the wind. And it just got progressively worse. And it did not stop until about 7 o'clock in the morning. And even with that, there was still some rain, some wind, but we were able to kind of get out, walk around, and see the aftermath. And so there wasn't a ton of damage, but what I can tell y'all for sure is this staff around here. And if you see the thumbnail of this video, those are two of the staff members here that Wallace and I have known for years because we come here time and time again. And they were the first ones that we saw yesterday morning when everything was over. And they're like, we got liquor back. You can get a mimosa for breakfast. And so that was a big thing. And so yesterday, the pool was still shut down because there was a lot of debris in the pool. And there was still, a difference in schedule for things. Some of the restaurants that are on the beach weren't able to open up yesterday because they were on, cleanup mode and just kind of getting things back together. And so a lot of people spent time in the main lobby area at the bar, and they brought out games. They did Jenga. I think they played charades. They had Uno out there. And so the staff really did everything they could to keep everybody's morale up, still keep that vacation vibe going. There are several people who were supposed to leave yesterday and the day before that their flights were canceled. And so a lot of them are now having to stay until like Monday because their flight was canceled. And so they can't leave until they can get them on another flight. We leave tomorrow, Mo. We leave tomorrow evening. Our flight is at 5:30. We're going to leave the resort. Our transportation gets here at 1 o'clock, and we're about 45 minutes from the airport. So we'll get to the airport around 2 o'clock. and boarding starts for our flight, I think, at like 4:15. So everything for us looks good, but people who were supposed to fly out today and yesterday, whose flights were canceled, are like bumped into next week because all of the flights are full. So luckily, we are so far able to get on our original flight, which is good. But it's a great place to be stuck in if you have to be stuck. But, there's people, who have kids that they have to get home to. They have jobs they have to get home to. One of the ladies that I have been talking to here, her daughter and son-in-law were here with them on vacation, but her daughter is breastfeeding. And, if you know anything about breastfeeding, when you leave your baby, you pump enough milk for while you'll be gone. And so with the storm coming, they ended up leaving a couple of days early because she didn't want to risk getting stuck here and the baby not having enough milk. And so they left. But, the parents are still here, but now they're here until Monday, and they really were supposed to be leaving today or yesterday, I think. So there's been a lot of that, but again, they're being as accommodating as they can. I haven't seen anyone really have a bad attitude or be super upset because it's nature. I mean, what can we do? It happens. I'm sorry, y'all. We just got out the pool, so I still got water dripping from my hair, so I apologize. But it's so funny. The interviews that we've had on local news at home people have been reaching out to us in every way, shape, or form. We've been getting phone calls, text messages, emails, DMs, everything. And it has just been, just overwhelming in a good way how many people just really are concerned about us. But we had some flooding, some water got into our room. So Wallace had to take towels out of the bathroom and just put it, at the bottom of our sliding glass door. Because there were times when that rain was hitting our sliding glass door so hard and so much, it was like someone was literally out here just throwing buckets of rain onto the door. I mean, you would just hear it hit and just see, like, not like regular rain. It was literally pouring like you're in, it felt like being inside of a car wash to me. And so it was like the rain was just hitting, it was pouring down, and then there was debris in the rain. So a lot of the palms from the trees, there was grass, and a lot of these buildings around us have like the tiki type of roofs with I don't know what to call it. I guess they're palms. It looks like hay. I don't know. But a lot of that was on the roof. And the pools today, even though they reopened the pools, they were still cleaning the pools because the pools were full of sand. The beach has been extended. There's a lot of sand up on the beach that wasn't there before. There used to be a full pier, and now half of the pier is gone and is into the water. And then the little like boardwalk that goes along the beach, they had to put caution tape up there because, a lot of that has been damaged. There are a lot of the like tiki type umbrellas that Wallace and I like to sit under. A couple of those were uprooted and upside down. So I did a full Hurricane Beryl vlog. And so that'll be coming out next week once I get home. But I did a lot of filming just with our experience. And so you'll get to see some of the storm through the window. Of course, we did not come outside, but yeah, it was an experience. And so far from what we hear, there was no loss of life here in Mexico. Unfortunately, I don't think that was the same for Jamaica. I think it hit Jamaica a little harder. The last I heard, there were 7 fatalities in Jamaica. So definitely praying for those families. That's just a terrible thing. But thank God it doesn't seem like there were any fatalities here. Again, Wallace and I come here on a regular basis, so we know some of the staff members. We talk with them all the time, and so we checked with them over the last couple of days, and they said that their families were fine, because they live here, and that was my thing. We get to go home, but a lot of these people live here. Hey, Chrissy, how are you? Beautiful. Thank you so much for tuning in. But yeah, definitely praying for Jamaica. Marguerite is one of the ladies who works here that we met the very first time we came here 10 years ago. And she said she didn't work that night, because they had the option to either stay here and work here or be able to go home with their families. And so she decided to go home, and she said that they were all fine, just had a little debris, branches and things down, but nothing major. And so that seems to be the case. We had a hard time scheduling our transportation from the resort to the airport for tomorrow, because, and not really like a hard time, it was just that normally we schedule it a couple of days before to make sure so we don't have to worry about anything on the last day. But their representative, who usually comes to the resort every day, hasn't been coming the past couple of days, and that's understandable. And their phone lines have been crazy, so our concierge has been trying to reach them, we've been trying to reach them, and so we finally got in contact with them this afternoon. And so that's set up, they're going to pick us up tomorrow at 1:05. And the worst case scenario with that, we just would have had to get, a taxi, even though we had already paid for the round trip, but we would have gotten to the airport. And we did meet another couple that we've kind of been chatting with over this past week, and they went on an excursion today, and they said that the roads aren't really bad. They were able to still go on their excursion. They went and did their thing, and they were gone all day. And so it seems like, despite how terrible it sounded, it was not nearly as bad as it could have been. So I'm definitely grateful for that. But it was an experience. We were up all night long because, I just don't know how you could sleep in it. And we had power probably until, I don't know, the power stayed on for a good long time. I want to say we had power until about 3 o'clock in the morning that night, and then the power and Wi-Fi and everything, it went out. So while we had power, I was pretty good with my anxiety because I just stayed on my phone, was looking on Facebook. I was able to text with my sister, and then there's some Facebook groups that are dedicated to this resort. So there were some of us here at the resort kind of talking to each other on Facebook about what we were experiencing in different villas. But then when that power went out and I really didn't have anything to occupy my mind, the anxiety crept in a little bit more. And so I had to wake up y'all boy, because Wallace he'll sleep through it. But I woke him up and I was like, I just need to talk. I just need to, and not necessarily about the storm, but just because there was no TV, couldn't get on my phone. And so we just chatted, and then, we looked out the window a little bit, and, it was nerve wracking, but at no point did I really feel unsafe. But it's just still the unknown, because things like that, again, is nature. It can take a turn at any time. And my biggest fear was just don't let the roof collapse. I'm like, even if the windows break or whatever, we could still go into the bathroom. We could do other things, but I just did not want the roof to collapse. And there were a couple of times when it felt like it might, it sounded like it might, but it didn't. So, no, we didn't have to move to another area. A lot of people, Chrissy, I know, who were in Tulum, they had to move to different areas, go to shelters. I know that they were housing some people in some of the schools there in Tulum. Now, here on our resort, there were people who had to change villas, but they were able to still stay on the resort. And some people who were on first floors, they moved them, because these are just 2-floor villas. It's almost like condos, or not even a condo, more like a townhouse. And so, there were some people who had first floor. I never am in a first floor. Like I said, I get this same one every single time. And so we're always on the second floor because there's a lot of wildlife here. And so I ain't playing all that. So I don't want to, and I like to keep my sliding glass doors open. So Wallace and I have literally stayed in this same villa 6 or 7 times. And so we didn't have to move, but there were people who had to move. And then what I really love too, because we didn't have power, they still have generators, but they were using the generators more for the common areas so that they could open up the restaurants and, have people be able to come out. And so they did not use the generators for the rooms, but there are a couple of people here who had special medical needs, like CPAP machines or oxygen. So they did run electricity through the heavy duty extension cords to their rooms so that they were able to have those once, we were able to even use generators. So again, just very accommodating, doing the best that they can, despite the circumstances, because they were, at a deficit too. They're not in control. Y'all see, I got my margarita. We've been at the pool all day today. Your girl got a little bit of a tan. Um, but yeah, so if you had any kind of medical conditions and you needed the electricity, they made a way to get you electricity. So they were running extension cords, and then they had like phone charging stations. I would say, girl, yeah, girl, I need it. Phone charging station. So I was able to charge my phone because we didn't know when the electricity was going to come back on last night. So it's funny, the electricity, like I said, came on last night around 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning, actually. And Wallace was asleep. And I was asleep too, to be honest. You know, we had the sliding glass door open. We sprayed some bug spray around our bed. So we had the nice natural breeze coming in. Of course, it was still hot. I hadn't slept like that since I was a kid, with that heat, you know, at your grandma's house, and just had the windows open, because in Pittsburgh we didn't grow up with AC. But you know, we were good. But I had rolled over at one point or whatever and opened my eyes and realized the whole room was bright. And I woke up, Wallace, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have electricity. And so he got up and immediately turned on the AC, closed the sliding glass door. So, and we slept in. We didn't get up this morning until about 8 o'clock and went up for breakfast. So it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. It's definitely an experience. We have stories to tell. A lot of content for YouTube. Wasn't the kind of travel vlog that I was expecting, but you know, I'm going to share it with y'all. I really recorded as much as I could of everything. And I'm also going to make a video, a content video about things to pack and think about if you are going to travel during hurricane season. You know what I mean? Because there were certain things, like I am a really good packer. I travel a lot. But there were certain things that I hadn't thought about as far as hurricane season. And even though this is hurricane season, yes, the Lifer crew, I love it. I love it. I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all keep me going. But this is hurricane season, right? So hurricane season is usually June 1st through November. But the storms usually don't hit like this early on. Like I have worked for the Office of Disaster Assistance for 10 years on and off. And I lived in Virginia Beach for several years. I travel a lot. So I pay attention to hurricanes. But this time of year, usually the hurricanes are out there in the middle of the sea, but they usually dissipate before they hit landfall, which is why I felt completely comfortable traveling now. We travel during the first week of July. You know, like anytime I'm traveling in June, July, I don't even think about hurricanes, maybe a tropical storm. So, and I believe this like kind of made history for being the earliest category hurricane to make landfall. And so there's just certain things, because even though I knew this hurricane was coming, I definitely underestimated the magnitude because it's so early in hurricane season and it's just not usually this big of a hurricane. And so I'm going to make a video and just tell people just some of the things I wished I would have had that can make it easier, because you just never know when you're traveling. And the way the weather has been this past couple of years, you just never know, period. I mean, there's people getting snow who never got snow before. Now there's all these sharks and stuff. I hear a lot of shark attacks in places where there usually aren't shark attacks, and sharks in shallow water. So you know, do with it what you will, but this weather and nature is changing. So I definitely think it would be worthwhile to make that video just to share with people some of the things that I think would have made it a little easier for us had we packed them. And nothing major that's going to be like a whole different suitcase, but just a few things to make it a little bit more convenient. It was nice too today as we were on the beach and everything to see that the ships were back out there, because the last couple of days there were no ships out there, but we saw the ships. We did see a Royal Caribbean ship out there today and a Carnival ship out there today. And we were actually able to see the skyline and the buildings in Cozumel, because you know it had been so dark and cloudy you really couldn't see it, because Cozumel is just across the water. And so we were able to see some of that. And it's amazing, you know, just how quickly things can go from one extreme to the other. It went from pitch dark blackness, crazy loud wind, trees bending, torrential downpours, diagonal rain and whatever for a few hours, to then we're just back in this tropical paradise. It's like I'm telling you, if anybody doubts that there's a God, because I'm like, who else could make this happen? And the thing is, if it was up to man and we could control it, this wouldn't happen, right? We would be like, no, because it would be about the money. You can't be losing the money. Hey, Kenya, how are you, Ladybug? Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, Princess, how are you? Yeah, we are safe. We are good. Like I said, it was rough. That night was rough. I definitely can't say that it wasn't. I can't say that my anxiety wasn't high. And again, it's just the fear of the unknown because you can't just assume, hey, J3, how are you? You can't just assume that everything, is going to be okay. Because I'm one of those people, I'm never like a why me person. I'm a why not me. I know bad things happen, unfortunately. Bad things happen to good people. Bad things happen even when you're trying your best. And so I just am like, I just prepare myself. I'm not like doom and gloom, but it's just, I don't feel that I'm above any of that stuff. Let me see. It's like being in New Orleans during a hurricane. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you're doing well. Yeah, it is. And like I said, I've been through Hurricane Hugo. I've been through several hurricanes, but this one, I have to say, I can't say that it was the worst as far as what's going to be in the history books, but for me, it was the worst because again, even though I've been to this resort 8 times or 9 times, I don't know, I'm still not home. I'm in a foreign country. I don't really know anybody here like that. So it was like, what if they did have to shut down the resort? What if I did have to find a shelter? What if I had to evacuate and there was flooding and my passport was lost? So all this stuff is going through my head. So in other hurricanes, I felt like I had a little more control because I was in the States. I was at home. And the times that I did evacuate, I evacuated to somewhere that I was more familiar with. But just that fear of the unknown and being in a foreign country, yeah, I can't say that it didn't cause me any anxiety because, again, you don't know. And there were times when these windows and doors were rattling so loud. I just didn't know. And to have to deal with that for hours, like I told y'all, it started at about 9 and it wasn't really, really bad, but it got progressively worse. And it was not, I wouldn't say it was over until like 8 o'clock in the morning where you felt like you could kind of see the rainbow, at the end. And that's the thing. I didn't see a rainbow. I don't know if there was any rainbow, but usually after the big storms like this is a rainbow. So I might have missed it. But yeah, it was a lot. But I'm telling you, as soon as it was safe to come outside, this staff here, they were out here. They were out here with the, I guess, like the water vac, sucking up all the water. They had the leaf blowers. I mean, I'm telling you, there is just a few things around here where you can kind of tell something happened. But for the most part, they got this place together so quick. And there was a guy, they opened the pools today. Like I said, they couldn't open them yesterday because of all the rainwater and everything and the debris. So they needed to clean the pools and shock the water and all that to make sure it was healthy for us to get in. So even though it was healthy for us to get in today, there was still a lot of sand and everything on the floor of the pools. But they were in there all day today, like in their little scuba snorkel gear with the, I guess, the pool vacuums. And they worked all day because the pools here are huge, worked all day. And Wallace and I spent the majority of our time at the pools today. And it was such a difference from when we first went down there after breakfast to when we just left. The pools are just clean, no sand, nothing. I just couldn't imagine that type of work. And then they're out there, still entertaining everybody, doing the volleyball games. They had the foam party in the party pool today because they had to cancel a lot of the festivities that they had planned for the 4th. They did that stuff today. So they decorated for the 4th today. They did a big barbecue poolside today with, grilled chicken and pork chops and sausages. I mean, did not miss a beat. I'm telling you, I just can't even imagine. They're literally like working 24/7 and they do that all the time. But to have that extra added of a natural disaster, and then just think about it. Like I said, they live here. So they have families and homes here that I'm sure that they're thinking about and they're worried about, but they're still here. and they are putting their best foot forward. No complaints, a smile on everybody's face. And again, I have to give it up for a lot of the visitors here as well. Morale has really been good. I haven't seen a whole lot of complaining, nobody being rude, nobody, trying to play the blame game. Haven't heard a lot of people complaining about refunds, because people will do that, especially on a cruise ship. You let one thing be canceled or messed up and they in line trying to get refunds. But I haven't heard a lot of that either. A couple of people were like, oh, they should compensate us because we didn't have access to the liquor and we couldn't get in the pools. But again, the liquor thing was the governor. He just shut down all sale and service of liquor for the whole state of Playa del Carmen. So that had nothing to do with the resort. But, there's been some mumbling, but not a lot of people. So, and I think COVID has a lot to do with that too, that major shutdown. And people just know to expect the unexpected, and things happen that are out of control. But you know what? We're all here. We're all safe. And we owe it to them too, because they gave us great instructions, great support. And so it's really been good to see people just making the best of it and just happy we're good. And it was almost, like being at camp or something that next morning, everybody's like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Because a lot of people are here for the same amount of time, and you start kind of getting to know people. And so everybody was just kind of checking on one another, and just like, people who were leaving, people were checking, did you get your flight, or, how are things going? But the morale around here has been really, really good. So I was glad to see that. And so tonight, Wallace and I told y'all I won the Voice, the Ocean Maya Voice. I think I told y'all that. And so my prize was a romantic dinner for two on the beach. And so they're not able to do it on the beach tonight because they're still cleaning up a lot of debris and seaweed and stuff on the beach. So they're going to set us up at a little special table in one of the privileged restaurants. And we're going to have a little lobster and steak dinner tonight, which is cool. I appreciate it. It would have been great to eat on the beach, but whatever. And then they have the fire show tonight. So I think that's going to be where, like they throw the fire batons and all that stuff. And so we'll probably hang out a little later tonight than we normally do. That's kind of how we usually do it on the last night. We just hang out, because last night they did a show. What was the show last night? Well, they had a live band last night, and then they went from a live band to a DJ, and we hung out and talked to a couple for a while, but I think we were back in the room by midnight. And I wish we would have hung out a little longer, because like Wallace said, Wallace wasn't ready to come in, but he took a long nap yesterday because I kept him up all night the night before because of the hurricane. So Wallace took a long nap yesterday, and I just kind of hung out on the resort talking to some of the ladies that I've been chatting with since I've been here. But that meant I was kind of tired last night and ready to go. And so when I said I was ready to go to the room, he was like, you sure? Because I'm enjoying sitting out here. And I said, yeah, well, I'm tired. I said, but you can stay if you want. And he said, no, I'll come in with you. He said, but I'm just like, not excited to get back to the room and no AC. And I'm like, yeah, I forgot about that. So I'm so glad that the AC did come on around 3:30. And it's been on ever since. And the room is cold and feeling good. So yeah, it has been quite an experience. And for those of you who saw me on the news, that is hilarious. And I was, okay, so when they first reached out to me about doing the news interview, I was a little like, oh, for real? So I'm like, okay, I can do it. But when they reached out the next day to do a follow-up, it was so funny. And we didn't have power or anything in our room, only in the main area. So our concierge set us up in a room up in the common areas, because we're like, we're doing an interview on the news. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he brought us mimosas and everything. I'm like, I can't be drinking mimosas on the news. So, but he brought them to us and set us up in a little area. But even though they had the generators running in the common areas, they still, they were distributing it, I guess, trying to conserve it and only use it the way they had to. So there was still no AC up there. And so your girl is on the news and sweating. I'm like, oh my gosh, because the room up there that they put us in was so hot, but we had decent enough lighting and we were able to do the interview. And we interviewed yesterday with our friend Vince Sims. The day before, we interviewed with one of his colleagues, Maria, but we were actually able to interview with Vince yesterday. And they combined our story with another person that is from Dallas, Fort Worth, that's here. And they're actually doing some volunteering to kind of help, because they were in a neighborhood. But yeah, it's been an experience. It has been an experience. And so hopefully you guys are looking forward to the vlog. I can't wait to edit the vlog because we've been through so much this past week. I'm looking forward to reliving it and remembering some things that I've probably forgotten about because it's been such a blur. And so, and Wallace is like, yeah, I'm gonna sit with you when you edit this vlog so we can kind of relive the vacation, because I know there's gonna be things that, like, oh my gosh, I don't even remember that because it has been a whirlwind of a time. But today we have literally chilled, and I was so glad we decided not to do any excursions or anything. So we chilled. We got up this morning, we did breakfast, and we have been in the pool. We ate lunch right by the pool. We didn't even go to a restaurant. We had our concierge just bring us lunch right by the pool, and that is all we have done today. That is it. That is it. That is it. But we needed that relaxation. We're gonna go have our dinner. Wallace is getting dressed, so I just figured I would go live while he was getting dressed. But it's time for me to get my butt in the shower and put something on. But I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you all once again for your prayers, your thoughts, sending your good vibes, your positive energy. And I look forward to the vlog coming out and seeing your comments and all that and what you think about this experience. But we are going to be getting on the plane tomorrow at 5:30 and headed back to Dallas, Fort Worth. And I am sure we are going to get there safe and sound and just get back to regular life. But this has definitely been one for the books, a different kind of vacation experience. But I would have rather done it with anyone besides the one I was with. I was so glad that Wallace was with me for this journey, because, you know, leave it to the hallway is never a dull moment with us. But thank you all so much for being here. Y'all know the drill. I love and appreciate each and every one of you to bits and pieces. Always be kind and love one another, but don't forget to live your life. LYFE. Love yourself first explicitly. And I'll see y'all when I get back to the States. Good night.
Living life is gangsta. Hey, hey. 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 Love yourself first explicitly. You owe it to yourself to move with that energy. Empower your self-esteem. Self-love is king. That's the only way to win. That's how you empower